And welcome again, guys, to the Unapologetically You podcast. I am your host, Ira Shepherd, and I have a beautiful guest here. We're going to get into who she is and what we have going on, but our topic today, we're talking about narcissistic men. And if you've done your research, if you know anything about it, you're going to learn a lot today if you haven't already got into the world of a narcissist or the mind or relationship of a narcissist. So welcome.
Thank you for having me. My name is T.R. Goodman, and I'm an author of Chained by Love, Freed by Strategy, Surviving a Rich Narcissist. Ooh.
I want to show them the book. Show them the book.
Ooh, yes,
because,
awesome.
Guys, listen. So I'm going to tell y'all where I met her at. And shout out to the banana pudding lady.
Yes.
Because we were literally in line. And I heard her talk about how I met. And I'm like, I would love to have her on my podcast. But when I ordered her book, guys, I didn't put this book down. And I don't think I've really sat for hours and read a book in a long time. So she got the workbook for me, but guys, start with the book. It is amazing. So let's start with you, though. I want to know a little bit about you because, again, I met you in line and I don't know 10 things about you.
Well, let's see. I'm a strategist, first and foremost. I empower women, empower men, in order to see their lives differently than what they've been taught. Generational curses is you have to be the one to change it. But if we want to put titles on it, I am the co-director of A&M Clinical Services, which is a mobile clinic. I own Free by Strategy Media Group. I am also a truck dispatcher and a representative to Legal Shield. And so that's, toot toot.
By day. And we do toot our horn over here because if you work for it, it's yours.
Yes.
So you sound like you have a lot going on. So to me, if I had to see you, again, I told you earlier, I'm like, you are a very attractive, appealing woman. You look
Thank you.
very, very pretty. And how do you come in contact with a narcissist? Like, did you know it?
At first, you don't know it. What ends up happening is, for whatever reason, it's like when you're an empath and when you're a healing soul, you attract people that need to be healed. And so they start off with the things that you need, saying, I'm a single mother. And so with that being said, groceries and, saying like little gifts or picking your kids up from school. It's like stuff, your love language. My love language is acts of service and receiving gifts. And so once the person that I was dealing with noticed that, that's what he pondered on.
So I want to start at the top. Were you in the grocery store? Were you walking the mall? Was it somebody you work with? Like, how did the initial meet and greet happen?
Actually, at a party. My neighbor, who's my friend, she was having a party, and I went over there, and he happened to be over there. And so we conversed a little bit, but not too much. He ended up leaving, and then he came back, and we conversed more. But it wasn't just he and I. It was amongst everybody else. But for whatever reason, he said, "Hey, I'm going to give you my number." And then we proceeded with the date after that. So, and the rest was history. It was just he and I.
So to get into the beginning of a relationship where they're narcissistic, and this is all tied around reading the book, guys. The book is not only a story, but it's a guide. So some of the things I cued in when I read the book was just basically like, the compliments, and of course we're girls, we love but you said those compliments are observations as well. So just getting into the beginning, was he bombarding you or was he subtle?
He was subtle. He was very subtle with it. He saw things that, I may have needed help with, say, or assistance with, being that I'm a single mom. Like, he bought groceries. He, gave my kids rides to school. He, saying was always around, like, when I was on lunch or something like that and I need somebody to, he'll, like, pull up on me. Hey, let's have, lunch together. It was simple things like that that kind of made it like, oh, my goodness, saying he's giving me affection and attention, things that I was lacking, being that I wasn't dealing with anybody. So he knew my weaknesses or whatever, and he made it meet his strengths.
And I'm hearing you say this right, and I'm kind of focusing the attention around. It's like he doesn't have a pen or a paper in his hand, but he's taking notes while he's doing these nice things for you. So how does it become? Of course, to me, you're gonna just pull to it. Now I like you. Now I'm giving you my time and my attention. So how does it go from nice gestures to another level, dating?
How it goes from there is pretty much you continue it. You continue the act, until they, saying the woman has to realize that this is just an act. And so as it progresses, as it proceeds, it's like, okay, I want you to myself or whatever, but you're not looking at it like that or whatever. I want you to move in with me. I want us to have a life together. I want you to be my wife. So it was everything that, alone, like you upgraded, like you didn't want to be a single mom anymore, saying not that you were having a bad time.
Goals.
Yeah. It wasn't that you, had a problem being a single mom, but at the end of the day, if your goal was to be marriage, then, you guys seem to have the same intent. So the intent was to marry. And
were you sharing these thoughts initially? Like, were you oversharing?
Yes.
I'll give you another thing, too, that I'm, again, learning in life. We seem to give them the rule book.
Yep.
To win us over. Were you giving him the rules?
Yes, and unintentionally knowing I was giving him the rules on how to pursue me. You see red flags, though, and you just kind of like, well, he's doing all this, so maybe something I'm doing, that's upsetting him.
So give me step one, the very first, because here I'm walking through the date. Y'all met, y'all talk good, gifts coming, the visits, he pulling up for lunch. What you say? You brought groceries? I ain't never had nobody buy groceries. You buy groceries. And it's, for a younger girl, that ain't a big deal, but for a grown woman, you checking not only my wants, but my needs and my kids' needs. You took the kids to school. I didn't have to get up this morning. It's an amazing thing. So what was the very first, like, there go a red flag?
Oh, the very first one was when he and I were at like this party where he was shooting dice. And I saw an ex. And so, me and the ex, we had no issues or anything like that. And so I threw something like in that direction of my ex, but not at him. I was just like, I looked to make sure it didn't hit him because that wasn't the intent. So he saw it. And so he literally took my chin and kind of like moved it like this, saying in front of everybody. I was so embarrassed. And he was like, I was just trying to straighten your neck.
What week was this now? This was 10 years into the date, because I know you touched my chin in the second, third week.
It was like, it had to be like a month in.
Month in?
Yeah, month in.
That's a red flag.
Yeah, it had to be a month in. And so I was, I was just kind of like, I was embarrassed. And not only was I embarrassed because of that incident, because when I went home, he was, a totally different person. It's like all this man who was giving me all these charming words now was everything in the book, saying because he was upset. And then he also left and then tried to have an altercation with that person.
Oh,
and
he took it too far.
Yeah, he tried to have an altercation with that person. And I talk about it in chapter, scene 2 in regards to that situation. And so
y'all read the book, because it's you're
juicy.
in there. You're in the room when it's going on.
Yeah, and so it was crazy. That was a red flag for me. And then he ended the night by, kind of reeling it back in, was like, I want to take you away from here and all this. And I didn't really like the neighborhood anyways, so I was just like, okay, well, I looked at it like I messed up, like I shouldn't have
done
that.
Gift.
Yeah.
So hear me out, right? When we are talking about the blow up, and you said the type of personality you carry, fixers, was your indicators going off that he needs just if a little bit of help, I can fix this?
Yes, that is correct. I just kind of feel like when you're so used to something for so long and nobody ever corrected you, you assume that that is the way you're supposed to go. But then when you have somebody different, saying from different walks of life, different intellects, and so you just feel like, okay, well, let me show you how it is on the opposite side, saying you don't have to be like is. But they have to be willing to change. They have to want to. Some people are stuck in their ways. They're just like, well, it's my way or the highway. And, you trying to be like, well, that's not how it has to be. And so you become not
Try to
only,
teach.
yeah,
Try to be a
you
teacher.
become the teacher. And so when in actuality, you end up becoming the student.
I'm gonna bounce around this book because that is to me the mind of a narcissist. You're always starting over. You're healing. Now we're on a path of healing. Now we're going back into it's all over the place, right? And so I heard you talk about mommy issues.
Yes.
And I don't think we ever put that on the front of the line when we're dating. How's your relationship with your mom? But it seems to be one of the very first things that a narcissist entails mommy issues.
Yes, that is correct. And I only found out because it was the need of, let's try to fix our relationship. And so things started to be exposed. It wasn't just my issues, it was also his issues. And that was one of the issues. And so I say it kind of makes sense because when you don't have a solid foundation with the person who birthed you, then you're not going to have a solid foundation with any woman because you still have a dislike or, saying an issue with that person. And you don't even want to work it out with that person. So it just kind of like, oh, well, this is my family, saying now or whatever. So I don't need anybody else. But that was the intent, but it always ended up I was the end result of it, and so I pretty much had to fix something I didn't break.
Absolutely. I've taken a human development class, and it taught me a lot about life, the cycle of life, because we're naturally born into the world thinking mom, dad, because that's the perfect picture. But a lot of people that deal with issues in life, like my story might have been perfect mom, perfect dad, so I thought. I may learn at a certain age it wasn't perfect, but what about those that come into the world? Imperfect is on the table from the beginning. They're mad way faster than me because I learned disappointment later. But again, going into human development, you can choose to be better. You can choose to not do what or repeat what you see.
Absolutely.
So, but dealing with a person that's narcissistic, again, I read on it a lot because I'm like, what's a narcissist?
Well, that's the $1 million question. A narcissist is basically everything is your fault. They try to gaslight you. They try to make you believe that what you saw, clear as day, didn't happen, and in which the way you seen it. They make you see like anything that's wrong with you. They ponder on that, to kind of make your stuff in the world like see you as a different person. When in reality, it's them. So it's like they're never wrong. They never hold accountability for anything. It's like you should have did something differently. If you didn't do that, then this wouldn't have happened.
So hear me out, right? You know a lot, but did you not know what you were in?
I was blinded by love, saying, and so I was blinded by experience. I was blinded by, saying the hope that, hey, I can too, saying have a different, saying lifestyle. I can too found somebody who loves me for me. And, so everything else, it was just blind. Like, what they say, like you do dumb stuff or whatever when you're blinded by that, and that's typically what happened.
Like lay across the refrigerator when y'all on the phone for hours because it sounds so good. This conversation sounds so good. I'm across the refrigerator, hanging and banging. So let me go a little bit deeper into the situations. So you've seen the red flags. Yeah. I guess it wasn't enough of them. Or let me say this. You wanted what you wanted. Yeah. So you were overlooking the red flags to check off your boxes.
That too. And being that, like, I don't really have a lot of family. So I felt like I made my little family. And so, saying through thick and thin, because being a husband is not like, oh, once I'm going to be a husband as soon as the papers are signed. You're a husband, saying before the papers are signed, when you're having conversations and all that. So he was being pretty much my husband. And so I'm like, well, he's upset. And so let me see what I can do, until I realized that no matter what I did, it was never enough.
I heard you say he gave the kids a ride to school. He was being that person.
Yeah.
Then as I read in the book, you're doing things to now separate. That's a whammy for me. I'm gonna tell you why. You want all the attention on you, even when it comes to the kids. So how do you balance with, like, juggle all that's what, to me, what drains you when it comes to narcissists, because there's so many compounds to that situation. Like, how did it start affecting your kids?
Oh, well, my children, it was tough, because when you're dealing with a narcissist, they want everything to be about them. It doesn't matter like who it is. I get it, saying when you're with somebody or whatever, because even in a biblical sense, saying when you marry, it's saying God, and there's your husband and wife, the children, and then your parents. And so, but he wanted everything to be about himself. And so even to the point where he was literally separating the children from eating out of a specific refrigerator. We had our refrigerator, and then they had to eat out of a different refrigerator. Not that the stuff was, saying better or, saying different. It was just the kind of like separation part of it.
How do we make that a reality? And the reason why I'm asking that, because I want people to understand, when you say it's a fire, no, it's really like burning. It's a fire. How did he make it a obligation to get another refrigerator? Like, was it a demand, or was it, you know what, they forget to shut the refrigerator, so we just gonna put their snacks over here?
What ended up happening was, when we bought the first house together, the stuff was already in the house, like the refrigerator and all that stuff. So when we upgraded the appliances, then he took the old refrigerator and put it in the garage. And so that was now the children's refrigerator.
Okay, so it just sounds simple.
Yeah, that's how it's intended. He was like, oh, saying because the kids don't eat what we eat, saying, and then when you do cook, they may like it or don't. So we just he made it
acceptable excuse.
Yeah.
I would be like, okay.
Yeah, that's what I'm assuming, until it became more of a demand. Like, you're not allowed in this refrigerator. It wasn't just like, oh, because you don't eat what we eat. It became, you don't open this refrigerator. Don't get anything out of here. Saying even when I cooked, it was like, well, they need to get something out of their refrigerators.
I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. Guys, y'all got to buy the book, because it's not only telling a story, but see how I asked that question? Mm-hmm. How does unacceptable behavior become acceptable behavior? Yeah. Well, if I give you a good enough excuse or reason, it passes.
Right.
And then another thing I was reading, it was about the surveillance.
Yeah. When I tell you, it was crazy. It was like an undercover, like a CIA thing. It's like anything I said, I had to be mindful, saying, because it was cameras everywhere.
So did you know it going into it that there was surveillance?
So he ended up putting him in later on, saying that there was surveillance. And so.
Not necessarily for you, but for like the house?
The house, the outside. Okay. And then for me, it was trackers on my car. And so.
Did you know it?
So at first I didn't, until one day when I was like, well, I want to take, saying my car instead of a car because he bought me a car, saying I already had a car, but he bought me another one. Everything was his and hers. That's another thing that, kind of reeled me in. I thought he really loved me because it was his and hers, everything. And so until one day where I mentioned, so I wanted to go somewhere in my car, the car that I already had, and he had a whole hissy fit. He was like, no, use the car that I bought you. And so I'm like, why? What's the difference? And then he was like, oh, because that one has a tracker on it. Saying he was real bold. Yeah, he was bold. I'm like, oh, well, I'm like, why do you have a tracker? Saying, he said, because of the fact that I know you don't know anybody around here, saying, and
good
so,
excuse.
Yeah, right? It's like, right, I know you didn't know anybody around here, saying, God forbid something happens, saying, I just wanted to, make sure I can get to you like quickly and stuff like that. And I was like, oh, he wants me to be safe, because I don't know anybody, saying people don't really know me. And so I was like, all right, cool. But until it became uncomfortable.
You ain't at Walmart.
Right.
You at Publix.
Right, exactly. And then, or if he's calling me and like he can track where I am. Like there was an incident where I was at Publix actually, and he was calling me, but he be calling me for no reason. I'm like, "No, I don't feel like answering. I'll just talk to you when I'm done." He literally pulled up on me in
At the
Publix,
store.
and cut up literally. And I was like, "Are you serious?" And that's when I realized that it wasn't just for my safety. It was so you can have control.
So, question: how far are we into this relationship? That 1 flag, 2 flags, 3 flags, 4 flags.
It was like something took place. I want to say like every 2 to 3 months, something took place. I mean, because the relationship wasn't long. It was like it lasted for 2 years, but within that 2 years, it was like it was so much going on. It was so draining, and so. Then I decided one day I wanted to leave. I'm like, I can't do this.
I seen it. You left a lot.
Yeah.
Every chapter you were on your way
leaving.
out the door.
Yes.
And when I turned to the next, I'm like, okay, well, we bite because we left the computer.
Yep.
Okay, we bite. And I honestly, that's what ties you into the. Even though I'm reading a book, I'm in your relationship because I keep seeing you go back. Something was pulling you back.
It's always some type of tactic he was doing. The first one, I was like, okay, he didn't want me and the kids like ride to anywhere. It's because simple fact that he knew if my kids was in the car with me, then we weren't coming back. So he always made sure that when I went somewhere, the kids didn't go with me. And so, but one day that happened or whatever, and I left. I did leave or whatever, but I'm like, I don't have my work computer because I worked from home.
So hurt.
Oh my goodness, I worked from home. I was like, this is my bread and butter. So, he's calling me and, and all this. He was like, oh, I went out and I'm trying to find you and stuff like that. And so I'm like, yes, that's my opportunity to go back to the house. Man, as soon as I pulled up, saying not too long after, he hid the computer where it was.
I was like.
So he knew I was going to come back.
He's smart.
Yeah.
Oh, guys, I could be here all day digging into this. No, because hear me out. Is it a plan ahead of time? Like, do narcissists know they're narcissistic and they're doing something wrong already and that this woman finna sneak up out of here and leave? So I'm going to start hiding this stuff so she can't leave. Mm-hmm. But then your book is kind of like the blueprint to... Ladies, prepare yourself.
Yeah.
Get a spare key for your car.
Mm-hmm.
Stop putting your computer in bird's eye view for him to know where it is if you do got to sneak it and leave.
Yep. And that's I put the tips and stuff, the heroic tips at the end of each chapter because I'm like, this is things I would have thought about, saying when. It's like everything. Once he did that, I knew not to have my computer in bird's eye view. I knew what not to do. Like he was pretty much correcting my wrongs. Saying he was teaching me. I was the student now, and he was the teacher. But he was teaching me how to deal with a narcissist, and and unfortunately, it became very toxic, saying physically, mentally, emotionally, and financially. And so people always, the burning question is, he's doing all this stuff, saying, why are you still here? So here's the burning question to that. What happens when you leave? You now have to pretty much uproot you and your children. You have to have a place to stay. You have to make sure that you can survive, out here. Because especially when you're by yourself, he isolated you from everyone. So only people that you knew were his people, that's friends and family. And of course, when it gets down to nitty gritty, they don't have your back. They're on his side. And it's because one, they're in his pocket. And two, they're listening to whatever nonsense story that he don't gave them to make it seem like, oh, you're the problem.
I want to talk about that. Again, guys, dealing with a narcissist, it is not a cookie cutter lifestyle.
It is not.
It is something coming from every angle, all the time. The stories are compounded from the front, the back, the side. Though none of my friends like you. They ain't your real friends.
Yep.
It's always something built around uplifting them or their plan or being the best, right? So when we talk about money, rich, because, okay, all girls, like watching TikTok, everybody wants a rich man. Like everybody that he paying for stuff, he buying stuff, that's covering up so much. you got your own. But who don't want help or
Well, who doesn't want to be in a relationship where there's two people that have their
Yes.
own? And so, I mean, you can get further in life with two. And the thing about it is, when he and I first started dealing with each other, I had no idea, saying that he was wealthy. I didn't know,
Right, you told
I
me
just thought like, I'm
he's
like,
very
okay.
resourceful.
Yes, I think he's resourceful, or saying he's just like he knows what it takes to, because we're talking about marriage, because the intent, saying you're dating for the intent to marry, he just knows what it takes to like, okay, now I'm being your husband before the papers, because he's coming from a century where common law marriage, saying is real heavy, so. With that being said, it wasn't even me knowing. He ended up telling me, saying later on in our relationship. And I was like, oh, okay, saying, but I didn't really know what exactly, saying that meant. I'm like, oh, okay, well, cool. But it meant like, he was like, I literally built this life for you. Saying I could have been somewhere else. He was like, you are given, he was given what everybody works their behind off to get. And it's just handed to you. You're not being appreciative. And I'm like, what do you mean by I'm not being appreciative? I didn't go anywhere. I didn't do anything or whatever. Like, I was literally in the house working, saying, then when I'm not at work, whatever, I'm still in the house because I was always a homebody. Well, that led him, and he was always, in the house, in the streets too.
It has you thinking. To me, narcissists have you thinking, and that's the draining part. Because I also heard you say, I stopped doing this, I stopped doing that. And I'll give you this, right? Again, I said I'm bouncing all over the place. When I came to your house that day, I heard your children. I heard your kids. So when I read your book, I'm like, take yourself back to a time where you couldn't even hear the kids.
Yeah.
Take yourself back to a time to where you wasn't even doing your hair. So when you're in that space, you had to have recognized this was bad because you did come out of it.
Yeah.
And unapologetically, that is my whole sole purpose with the podcast, is because you win when you come out of it. It didn't make you lose yourself. It didn't make you completely disconnect from your life completely, because I fell, but I got up.
Yeah.
So the moment that you chose to say, this ain't it.
Right.
I think you said it a lot of times.
Listen, there was a lot. Sometimes you got to lose in order to win again, right? And so, I mean, it took a lot, and the thing about people don't understand is when you're dealing with certain situations, domestic, you have children involved. DCF is at the door, it just takes the slightest thing. And so that even happened, saying unfortunately for me, but for me, I had to do a safety plan. And so my children were with my mother, and so they just like, hey, we want you to get away from this person because they've checked his background. This is not the first time that this scenario has happened, and so he owned another property. So what I did was I went in there and staged it, saying as if like me and my kids are, saying they're living there. And so I was able to get my children back. So I'm like, okay, saying we're finally free, I got my kids back. And so I was going to move from there into my own spot because I was still stacking, saying because I wanted to buy a house. I didn't want to do an apartment. I wanted to buy a house. I wanted what the kids knew. So with that being said, that wasn't good enough for him.
I hear action plan though. I hear, living in this, I figured out that this ain't healthy. Not even if I can't even say it's obvious. It's just like too much paint is running down the walls. Like, as much as I want to deny it, I got to admit it. Okay, let's get out of here. You're working on that. How did you finally get there?
He pulled a knife on me. Yeah. He was upset because I got up in the middle of the night. Well, actually, it was in the middle of the night. It was like 3, 4, 7 o'clock in the morning to help my daughter get ready for school because he was always complaining, like, why is she taking so long? So as a mom, I'm trying to figure out, why are you taking so long?
Is that to be nitpicky, or was there any substance there?
It was to be nitpicky, to be honest, and then I was in her room too long. And so
What are you doing in there?
Yeah, he felt some type of way. It's because when you know you're doing wrong, you're paranoid. You think everybody is against you. And that wasn't even the case. And so when she left or whatever, he said something to me about it. He was like, oh, you was there so long, I can't sleep in the bed without you, because everything was about him, not what I was trying to do. And so when I was just kind of like, I stood up for myself, and I'm just kind of like, well, that's my daughter, what I'm saying? I don't care. Well, he made sure that I did care. He got out of the bed and went to go get a knife, and it was pitch black. And then I was like, turn that light on. And he went and go turn the light on. So I rolled over, to his side of the bed and opened up the curtain. And here he corners me and with a butcher knife, saying he was talking a lot of noise. And I let him talk, saying, because where am I going to do this window? I can't just bust through. I'm not Incredible Hulk, And so, he stopped, seeing his noise, and then he just like, oh, I thought about it again, and then he started up again. Well, luckily for me, saying I had a team that I kind of put together, that kind of knew what was going on.
Don't give it to him.
So,
listen, guys, y'all got to buy the book to find out the ending to that, because I did not put my book down. I had to figure out what happened. I want them to know, though, she did win. She did get out. Mm-hmm. You got out, but it does not end when you get out.
It doesn't.
So, guys, listen to me. You have to buy the book. I'm passionate about things that I love, because narcissism is like a silent killer. Mm-hmm. Everybody doesn't make it out. Everybody doesn't recognize it. And mentally, as a person, you have to be strong enough to navigate it.
Yeah.
And her book not only gives you like life examples or situations, but they are, like she said, a roadmap to get to where you need to go.
Absolutely.
So I honestly really enjoyed our conversation today. Again, I told y'all, we got a part 2 this.
Yes.
Because we've been here some time, but we scratched the surface of dealing with a narcissist.
Yes.
And so, but what I commend you for is surviving it.
Thank you.
Seriously. She don't look like it. She don't look like what she been through. Again, I met her in line. She could have told me she was a surgeon in California, and that's what you look like to me. Very wealthy, very rich, very put together, got your stuff going on. It doesn't have a face.
Right.
It doesn't have a look. Mm-hmm. Wealthy, not wealthy, pretty, ugly, skinny, fat. Anybody can be dealing with a narcissist.
Absolutely.
Surviving it is knowing the plan.
Yep.
And she has the blueprint. And she gifted me, God. I didn't even know she had the workbook. So I'm going to go through this because, again, I told you I was triggered from chapter 1. Mm. And so as I read it, I'm like, this is a good read. And so now the workbook, as I said, when you have plans in your mind, writing it down is your action plan.
Yes.
So again, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
I always say we have to part 2 because I don't feel like I'm done. I don't feel like I'm done here. I don't feel like we went all the way through it. But for you guys to catch up, buy the book. We're going to drop the link. Buy the book so you can learn and understand. If it's not for you, you may have a friend dealing with a narcissistic man or even a woman. Buy the book, and then we're going to part 2 it.
Absolutely. Because
it's a deep conversation to have. I thank you for coming. I thank you guys for watching. And be you, but be you unapologetically all the time.
Hi, everyone. My name is T.R. Goodman, and I'm the author of Chained by Love, Freed by Strategy, Surviving a Rich Narcissist. This is a griping psychological thriller. It will reel you in. This is a story about a woman and her children that fell in love with the narcissist, to the opportunity to the love, to the life that we all dream of. However, he had a different story for her. Here is the workbook that helps you debunk all of the stuff and that you have ever learned. And that is whether it is to make you feel like you are unworthy. Just because somebody devalues you does not mean that your worth is nothing. Join me and millions of women around the world as we stop dating these narcissists. And trust me, survival is not just in a situation, it's when you get out of it as well. Follow me at TR Goodman 25. My Facebook is TR Goodman, and you can get these bundles at www.freedbystrategy.com. See you soon.